Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP discovers her husband's affair in a horrible way. Am I the butthole for wanting to walk away from my marriage and the child that we were raising after finding out the child is biologically my husband's? My husband's sister adopted a child 4 years ago. She had talked before about being a single mom by choice, and when her friend had a child that she didn't want to raise, she said it made sense to step in and offer to become the baby's mom. Everyone was supportive and welcomed the child into the family. 2.5 years ago, my husband's sister was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She unfortunately declined rapidly and asked us to take in her child, and we agreed. We hadn't yet had children of our own at that point, which made it easier. We made sure she still spends time with her child, and she asked that we continue raising the child. We promised to do it no matter how bad she gets, or even if she dies. My husband never acted weird about the child, never acted like he had some secret. He acted like an uncle willing to step in and raise his sister's child. Recently, his sister confessed to me that my husband was the biological father of this child. She said that my husband and her best friend used to hook up occasionally, and he did it right before we got married, and this child is the result of his infidelity. I was sick. She told me she couldn't keep lying to me because eventually it would come out, and she wanted to minimize the damage. I confronted my husband, and he denied it, so I asked him to do a DNA test. He's the father. There's no doubt. DNA confirmed he's the biological father. He told me nothing happened since we were married, and he loves me, and he's sorry for what he did. He said that it was a drunk night before our wedding, and he would never do something like that again. Then he said he wanted us to be a family and offered to adopt his child and raise them as our own. He told me this doesn't have to end us. I left the house, and I've been staying with my sister since the DNA results. I'm disgusted, and I don't want to sign up for this. I know the baby is innocent, but I now can only see what my husband did, and I cannot imagine raising them and acting like their mom and keeping my husband in my life. My husband's sister has reached out to apologize multiple times, and she told the rest of the family the truth also. My husband's parents have tried to contact me to get back with my husband. They've told me that I have a family now, and I can't leave, especially not with their daughter unable to raise this baby again. I had to block them because their messages were blaming and shaming me more and more for not agreeing to marriage counseling and moving forward as a family. I don't see a way back from this, but I've been in this child's life since birth and raised them for more than 1.5 years. I just know I could never be a good mom to them knowing what I know. Am I the butthole for wanting to divorce and walk away? This is a profound, multi-level betrayal. The cheating, the lying, the baby daddy, the affair baby, the adoption of the affair baby. I'm amazed you're still even talking to these people, OP. This feels like one of those change your name and move to another country to completely start over type scenarios. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your husband 4.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for giving my friend her baby back before I was supposed to? I'm a 26-year-old woman who's childless. My close friend Amy, who's 27, had her second baby, Rebecca, almost 4 months ago. And her first child, Tommy, about 7 years old, has been having trouble adjusting to his new sibling. Amy's been feeling a lot of guilt around this, so I let her know that once she's comfortable, I'd be down to babysit Rebecca so she could have some one-on-one time with Tommy. Amy knows that I have 12 nibblings. I was literally born as an aunt, so she's comfortable with this. She took me up on this offer on Halloween so she could take Tommy trick-or-treating. She asked me if I could keep Rebecca overnight so that she and Tommy could take part in some tradition or other. I adore the baby, so of course I said yes. Halloween rolls around. Amy drops Rebecca off at my apartment at around 4 p.m., and everything's fine. After about an hour, Amy FaceTimes me to check on the baby. Another 45 minutes go by. Amy FaceTimes me again. No problem. The baby is really young, so I totally get the anxiety. Amy continues to FaceTime me every 30 minutes to an hour, even while she takes Tommy trick-or-treating. She'd get to a spot with no signal or Wi-Fi, try to call, the call would drop, and she'd call back to back until FaceTime stopped dropping the call. At some point, they finish up their trick-or-treating and go to do their Halloween tradition. Whatever it is, it runs late. Amy's still wide awake and FaceTiming at around 10 p.m. when I'm getting ready for bed. I ask her if she just wants me to bring Rebecca home. She insists that she doesn't want that. I let her know that both Rebecca and I are about to be asleep. And I definitely start getting a little buttholy here. I said maybe this would be a good time to finally focus on Tommy. She continues to FaceTime every 30 minutes to an hour. I answer or call her back every time. The last few calls, I try to break it to her gently that she's keeping both me and Rebecca awake. And the baby's already not a great sleeper, so it's getting a little rough settling the baby back down after she calls to wake the baby up. She doesn't care. I finally get fed up at some point. Amy is clearly tired. The baby can't sleep because of the constant phone calls, and I'm irritated. After we hang up the last time, I pack up the baby's things, and take the baby home. Amy is genuinely upset with me. I thought that I was doing the right thing because she was clearly struggling with being away from the baby. Tommy was asleep by the time that I dropped Rebecca back off, so it's not like I disturbed their time. I don't have kids. Maybe that's why I can't gauge the issue. But someone please let me know if I was a butthole for bringing the baby back home. OP, sounds like your friend needs therapy. The whole point of this babysitting thing was for Amy to focus on Tommy, but instead of doing that, she just constantly called you about the other baby. So clearly, she's not in an emotional position where she's able to be away from the baby. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving Amy 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Very annoying behavior. Am I the butthole for using a disabled person for my own benefit? So I'm an 18-year-old woman, and I took sign language lessons in high school. But up until now, I've never had a deaf friend. This year I started college, and there's a deaf mute person in my class. He uses an interpreter during lessons. Everyone's been nice to him, but no one really tried to get to know him or actually befriend him, so he wasn't very close with anyone. But after I told him I knew some ASL and started signing with him, we naturally got close. Since September, I've been signing with him almost daily, and my signing has gotten so much better. Anyway, weeks ago, he suggested that I start taking ASL lessons again, and I joked, "That's what you're for." It was absolutely a joke. Like, I laughed right after I signed it. But maybe because my signing was off, I don't know, he took it seriously and got offended. I apologized and explained that it was just a joke. He said he understood and even apologized for getting upset in the first place. He acted a bit distant for a couple of days more, but eventually got over it, and we're completely fine now. But today, one of my other friends told me that he said he noticed Nolan and I had been a bit distant lately and asked if everything was alright. I told him we had a little fight, but don't worry, we're completely fine now. But for some reason, he wouldn't let it go. First, he made jokes like, "There's some truth in every joke," which I laughed off. But then he said something like, "I knew you wouldn't hang out with a guy like him for no reason." I was like, "Excuse me?" I told him that was such a rude thing to say, and he said that it was the truth. I called him out for being a bigot, butthole, and an ableist, which I guess got under his skin because he snapped back at me and said I'm not one to talk like that, I'm worse than him, and that I'm taking advantage of a disabled guy and using him for my own benefits. I went down to the comments looking for the comment from a deaf person, and here we go. Championship Lumpy says, "I'm deaf, and it's exhausting. Every single person expects me to be their teacher. It got to the point that I actually hate it. Knowing a language and being able to teach are two very different things." So yeah, OP, seems like you're generally getting a butthole score down in the comments. It seems like you have good intentions, but your execution is a bit inconsiderate. Am I the butthole for refusing to share my inheritance with my siblings who are now threatening to sue me for undue influence? My father passed away a few months ago. In his will, he left his entire estate to me, explicitly disinheriting my brother Mark, who's 40, and sister Jenna, who's 38. The thing is, 10 years ago, my father gave them each $150K as an advance on their inheritance to start a business because they begged and begged. He had a lot of money back then, so it wasn't much to him. Both of them blew it within 2 years, on vacations, cars, etc. And then they had the nerve to ask him for more. When he refused, they got cruel. They stopped visiting, wouldn't let him see his grandkids, and badmouthed him to the entire family, claiming that he was a miser who was hoarding their money. I was the one who was there for him. I took him to doctor's appointments, helped him with his finances, without ever touching a dime for myself because, unlike my siblings, I have a great job that I worked hard for. And I was with him in hospice when he died. It was just me and him at the end. His will is ironclad, written by his longtime lawyer, and it includes a clause stating they received their share during my lifetime. Mark and Jenna are furious. They've been blowing up my phone, saying I poisoned him against them. They're bad-mouthing me to the family, and I'm getting phone calls from relatives that I should help them. Now they've hired a lawyer, and today I was served papers. They're threatening to contest the will, claiming I took advantage of our father in his old age and used undue influence to get him to cut them out. They offered to drop the lawsuit if I just give them $100K each. I told them to get lost, and that I would never give them a single cent of our father's money after how they treated him. I'm so angry I can barely speak. Am I the butthole for telling them I'd see them in court and refusing to give them anything? I'm honestly worried that fighting this in court will take more in legal fees than just paying them. But I'm so angry that I need an outside opinion because I've lost perspective. Then OP posted an update. Thanks to everyone who suggested I contact the lawyer who drew up the will. I sent him all the papers and texts that I'd received. And it turns out that sending people texts in California that say things like, "This won't stop until you give us the money," is considered criminal extortion by letter, which is a felony. He contacted their lawyer, and it turns out they'd lied to him about a lot of things, and he was not enthused about the extortion. Everything fell apart pretty fast, and it didn't cost me anything. I'll probably never see my nieces and nephews again, at least not until they're much older. And the other family members are angry at me because they feel the extortion was actually my fault for giving them no other options. I decided I'm just going to move away and find peace elsewhere after I'm done dealing with the estate. I can't believe things got so ugly over money, but I'm out. Some people commented in my original post that they'd had similar experiences, and I feel sorry for you all. It's a really unfair position to be put in, and there's a helpless element to it that just sucks. I learned a valuable lesson about the importance of keeping receipts, though. Looks like we got a happy ending here. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your siblings get 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.